What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps. We got UFC 315 coming up. I'm super excited for this one because Belal Muhammad is back and he wants people to remember the name. Now, I know people are going to say, of course you like him. He's a boring fighter just like you. Some of you guys are weird. I don't understand. The guy has been finishing guys and actually putting on great performances of late. So I think you kind of got to give the guy a little bit of a slack. And with that said, JDM is a more than worthy contender, and he's going to push a hard pace, making this a very, very fun fight. Now, let's get into it. I don't know who's going to win this one. This is a hard one for me to pick. It really is, and for multiple reasons. Belal's a really good wrestler, grappler for MMA. He just beat Leon Edwards. And with that said, I don't know if that was the best Leon Edwards, so it's kind of hard to know exactly where he's at, and I'm just going to try to pull up his record now. But he beat Leon Edwards for the belt, and I believe this is his first title defense. Yes, it is. But before that, he beat Gilbert Burns. And I know people were kind of giving him a little bit of flack saying, you beat Gilbert Burns when he was already compromised coming in. I don't know. Only Gilbert Burns can really talk about that and give us some concrete information to understand how to assess that situation. But the facts are he did dominate Gilbert Burns. He looked great from beginning to end. And then, of course, you have JDM, who also fought Gilbert Burns. And he was supposed to be healthier. And that performance, I thought, was really, really good. And from there, oh, don't do that. From there, I'm being distracted right now. Hey, yo. You messed up my train of thought. But Gilbert Burns in that fight against JDM, he did some really good stuff, landed some good strikes, and of course he was able to take down JDM multiple times. When I say multiple, like a couple times. But then ultimately, in the third round, even after having his arm broken, JDM came through in the clutch with about 1:30 seconds left. That's 90 seconds in the third round, and was able to get the finishing touches. The way he turned around after he escaped, he hit the little Granby roll, flip out, was able to get back to his feet as Burns comes up. Burns is going to shoot right away. JDM times a perfect knee right on the chin of Gilbert Burns, rocks him, was able to stuff the takedown, land some big ground and pound strikes, and get him out of there. That is the clutch factor. That is the clutch genes. And of course, we know JDM has really good boxing. So that's what makes this a really hard pick for me. Now, with the boxing of JDM, I've been pointing this out for a while now. I've been saying that I just feel like his hand speed is a little bit slow, but it's super accurate when he's touching you up, coming in, measuring the jab, bop, 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 banging the body. He'll dig in there. But again, it's a slow hand speed. It's not very fast twitch, but it does the job. And when he touches you, he hurts you. And that's a big problem, I think, for a fight like this with Belal Muhammad, because we haven't seen Belal Muhammad actually get pressured and beat up to the body where a guy is really trying to attack him and slow down that gas tank, because Belal has a really good gas tank at that weight. That fight with Leon Edwards, he was putting on a pace that I don't think I've ever seen him put out before. In his first title defense at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, whatever time it was over there, he was able to put on a insane Marab-like pace, Volkanovski-like pace. Either way, really good performance. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, well, I haven't seen Belal been put in this position for me to understand how he's going to actually be able to handle that situation when it arises, if it arises. I mean, Belal could go out there and just blanket him the whole time and maybe get a TKO finish on the ground. I don't know. But with that said, it's a very compelling fight because of the style of JDM. He brings a crazy just pace. Like, he's going to be in your face the entire time. And even when people get him hurt or they give him some opposition, he finds a way out of it. He finds a way to win. You look at the Hafiz fight, Basil, I'm butchering the name, that he took on short notice for JDM. It looked like Basil was going to win that fight. But, of course, short notice, he slows down. JDM finds a way to win against a very, very tough, gritty grappler and was landing some big shots. And kudos to him. He beats Gilbert Burns. He beat Randy Brown. That's what impressed me the most. for him to beat a guy like Randy Brown, who has really good boxing, coming off of a nasty knockout win over a guy who's never been knocked out over Dalby, that says something. Credit where credit is due. Randy Brown has some really good boxing, and he has some really good range control. Just being able to use those long arms, 78-inch reach advantage. For what I understand, I think that's one of the longest at welterweight. And being able to keep that distance, measuring the range and holding that. And for JDM to be able to get inside on a tall, lanky fighter like that and be able to eventually finish the fight in the first round, that's pretty damn impressive. And Randy Brown's my guy, but that's an impressive win in my opinion. So with that said, I think this is a very difficult fight. So I'm giving you guys the facts. I don't really know which way I'm leaning towards. I am a higher Belal Muhammad fan because of his style, because of the adversity he had to go through to get to the belt, because I've been there. So I can relate to a guy like that and understanding how hard it was for him to earn that title shot. And when he got it, he capitalized on it. I mean, I didn't capitalize on it in my first outing with Fiorot, but weird circumstances happened where it gave me an opportunity to redeem myself. That's a whole nother story. But just being able to relate to the scenarios that he had to go through, all the wins he had to string together in order to get his first opportunity. And when he got the opportunity, he capitalized on it. And that's a winner's mentality, beating Sean Brady. Look at Sean Brady now. There's something to be said about the way he's winning and doing these guys, pause, as of late. So I have to point all those things out. He looks way more well-rounded than he was in the beginning of his career. And just look at the killer's row of the guys that he's beat. He's a hard guy to bet against because of all the opposition. And of course, you could say, oh, the Leon Edwards fight, that wasn't the best version of him. Leon doesn't look like he has that fire anymore. That's of late. But Leon was a world beater coming all the way up. Yeah, he was probably losing the fight to Usman all the way into the 5th round in the last minute and then got that crazy headshot dead knockout. Okay. But then he goes out there in the rematch, in the trilogy, and wins the fight, I would say, pretty convincingly against Usman, who is one of the pound-for-pound greatest at the time. So I think with that said, you've got to put respect on Leon Edwards' name. And if you put respect on his name, you've got to put respect on Belal's name as well and what he's been able to accomplish and the guys he's been able to beat. Again, finishing Sean Brady is no joke. Being able to beat a guy like Leon Edwards and just the killer's row of all the other guys he's beaten. I just want to pull up the list so I make sure I'm not misspeaking here. Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, Vicente Luque, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Damian Maia. Yeah, these were all decisions. No contest with Leon Edwards. Diego Lima, Lyman Good, Takashi Sato, Curtis Millender. Like, it's pretty damn good. He only lost to Jeff Neal in the UFC. Everyone else, he beat. Actually, he lost to Vicente Luque as well. I forget all about that. And Alan Joban. But since then, he's just been on a crazy run. Really impressive run, 24-3. All his losses in the UFC. That's a bar. But if we're going to look at this on paper, for my guys out there who are going to be placing bets, again, for me, Belal Muhammad is a hard out to bet against. And I think he has that grinding style pace that he could keep up that pressure and intensity for all 5 rounds. It's going to be up to a guy like JDM. Can he stop the takedowns? And when he stops the takedowns, can he make Belal Muhammad pay by doing some damage in the in-between scenarios? I'm talking, he gets out from bottom. Can he turn around and land a knee or turn around and land a couple of shots to the body or one to the head to kind of chip away and do some damage to make Belal, who's taking you down, if he's not doing damage on top, all he's doing is grappling. So I want you guys to understand what I'm saying. So if I'm just taking you down, I'm not doing any damage. I'm just grappling. But if you can escape that position and turn around and do damage, you can steal those rounds. And at the top of that, you could put money in the bank and invest in the later rounds, in the long game, and eventually look to put on the finishing touches to get them out of there, or hope for them to slow down where you can start to land more strikes going into the later round. That's going to have to be the game plan of a guy like JDM. Belal Muhammad's going to have to keep up that intensity for 5 rounds, stifle the offense of JDM, try to stay in his face, because again, he's a slower fighter. I do think Belal Muhammad is not a crazy fast twitch guy, but I think his hand speed is a little bit better. Yeah, he might not have the pop. Yeah, when he throws the punches, JDM could probably time something and come over and counter and maybe catch him and hurt him really bad. But I think if he can utilize his feints, the up and down that he's been doing, mix up the strikes, stay in his face, pressure him backwards toward the cage, which he does really, really well, I think this is a hard fight for Belal Muhammad to lose. But again, If JDM can stop some of those takedowns, stifle the offense on the cage, keep him at bay, make him work, drain some energy, and then put some punches to the body and things like that, invest in the body, I should say, I think it's a very good chance for a guy like JDM to get the job done and become new. But it's a hard pick for me to go against a guy who's been winning and been so dominant. So in my opinion, I have to go with the guy who you have to remember the name. That's my analysis on that. And again, I don't have a dog in the race or horse in the race. I do like Belal Muhammad more because I have spent more time with him over the years and trained with him a couple of times here and there. So it would be nice to see him get the job done. But of course, this is MMA, may the best man win. I think it's a great fight. JDM brings a very exciting style. I think of late, Belal Muhammad has been doing really good with making his style more exciting. And I think it's hard to ignore that. Yeah, you could hate all the other past few fights and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, look at the past 3 performances. They've all been relatively exciting, so you can't deny that. With that said, we'll move on to the co-main event. Valentina Shevchenko is back to defend her belt against Manon Fiorot. I hope I'm saying that the right way. Fiorot's looking to be the first French woman. I don't know Geronime, I think she was Dutch, but the first French woman to win a UFC title. Now, the queen is back in Shevchenko, and I just can't see... I just don't know how she loses this. And I could be completely wrong. Maybe I'm biased because of all the wins. I think she has 8 title wins in total for Valentina Shevchenko. And the killer's row of people she's beaten, the adversity she had to deal with when fighting Alexa Grasso, really good boxer, being taken down, being submitted, having to come back, fighting to a draw, and then coming back and then beating her in the next fight. It's relatively... I think it shows her mindset and her will to want to still be on top. So obviously Fiorot coming in, wanted to prove that she's the best, wanted to become the first French woman to get the title. And again, don't quote me, I think she's going to be the first French woman fighting for a title and possibly becoming UFC champ. Don't quote me on that. I don't have any facts on this. I'm just going by the memory bank, so give me a little bit of a break. Hopefully the memory is still sharp. But with that said, Fiorot has beaten Erin Blanchfield, Rose Namajunas, Caitlin Seminara, who is the blonde fighter, Jennifer Maia, Myra Silva, Tabitha Ricci, Victoria Lonedo. Like she's beaten a lot of good competition, and some of them by finish. Some by decision. Well, actually only one by finish. That was against Tabitha Ricci. Everyone, all the other ones were decision. Ooh. For me, 12-1, good record. Looked good against Blanchfield. Blanchfield, that fight was very. I felt like Blanchfield was doing kind of a one-dimensional thing where it was only one way she had to get to her takedowns and the striking, and there was no change in attack. It just looked like she didn't have the diversity of skills to kind of switch it up in the middle of the fight to try a different game plan or a different way to approach it. So with that said, it's kind of hard to put a lot of eggs in that basket in terms of, or a lot of weight on that win. It's a good win against a top contender who is beating a lot of people. She finished Jessica Andrade. So there's definitely some value there, so don't get me wrong. But I think in the skill gap of the women's division, it's usually the champ who's really all the way up here, and then some of the other females, the competition or skill set are a lot lower as compared to the top 5, top 10 of some of the other men division. So with that said, I'm not knocking it. I'm just pointing out some of the things that I've noticed. And with that said, I think Fiorot is good. I just don't know she has a diversity of skills as a woman like Shevchenko, who's, like, again, been through the adversity, fought the best of the best, Amanda Nunes, Joanna Jacek, Alexa Grasso, who finished her to come back and then to win the title and to still have the hunger to want to win. That's saying something, and that's not easily done. So for me, I think the southpaw stance of Valentina Shevchenko, she does a great job with that right check hook, that 3-2, and she does a really good job of hitting that inside or outside leg kick where she's just kind of just moving, she's kind of hopping, moving her stance, and then pop, and then she's moving in and out, really, really quick, fast twitch muscles, and then of course she has that really nasty left head kick that I believe she knocked out Jessica Eye with. So with that said, I'm leaning towards the champ and the more proven fighter. And of course, anything can happen. I feel like it's annoying when I have to constantly say that. But I think if I'm a betting guy, who I'm putting my money on would be Shevchenko, because I just think it's a surer or safer bet. And of course, she just lost to a grappler. I don't really know Manon Fiorot as a high-level grappler, but if she can take Shevchenko down, it does make things very interesting, because the few fights she had some trouble with was the Santos fight, the Jennifer Maia fight, and of course Alexa Grasso when she was able to get taken, well, when they were able to take her down. So I think you have to look at those few things, and I wonder if the approach of Fiorot is going to be one of those, trying to initiate the clinch, but Shevchenko is a really good body lock in that position, so she does really well in that position there. And for Fiorot, I don't think she's a straight-up wrestler, so it's going to be a little bit hard for her to get the takedown. But if she can blend in some of the takedown attempts with the striking and maybe get like a trip or something, or press her against the cage and then get a takedown, I think that's the way to go. But it's going to be hard to grab a hold of someone as elusive as Shevchenko. But we've seen it in the past. She has been able to people have been able to take her down. And I'm looking at the recipe for success. If I could implement that and add that to my game plan, I'm going to try it. So may the best woman win. But for me, I'm leaning towards the current champion and the more proven and seasoned, experienced fighter in Shevchenko. I just think she's had way more adversity, way more to overcome, and I think the experience is going to play a big factor in this, just the fight IQ in general. I'm not going to go into too much crazy other fights. This is going to be relatively short, but we got Jose Aldo taking on Ayman Zahabi. Zahabi's been looking really good. Obviously, Jose Aldo, we all know who he is and what he's about. Zahabi's 37 years old. He's 5'8". He's on a really good win streak right now. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, beating Pedro Munoz, Javid Basharat, Ricky Lang, Ricky Tercios, and Draco Rodriguez. Before that, losing to Vince Morales, Ricardo Ramos. So, that Ricardo Ramos elbow that he got knocked out with was nasty. So for him to come back from that, anyone who could come back from a nasty knockout, I think it says a lot about their fortitude and their will to win, right? And to just overcome adversity when people are doubting them. So I think it's a very good opportunity for him to fight someone like Jose Aldo. I do think he has a really good educated jab, but Aldo, we know he's got a nasty one too, a really good jab where he's coming, that boha. He's not going to use the leg kicks. I've given up on that. Every time I do a breakdown, I'm like, maybe he'll bring back the kicks. I'm not going to do it. And maybe this time he's saying that he's probably going to bring out the kicks. And I could be like, yes, he did it. But I'm going to say he's not going to utilize the kicks. It's going to be jabbing, moving, feinting, 1-2, looking for the left hook to the liver. And I think that's going to be his game plan, trying to win. Obviously, he lost a split decision to Mario Batista. People were pissed at Batista, but I don't think Batista fought a bad fight. I think he fought a smart fight. Unfortunately, as the former champion, a guy like Jose Aldo, who's been seasoned, been around the block, guys are going to try to take you down. Guys are going to try to slow you down. The only few fights you lost is when guys can push you against the cage, unless his name is Piotr Jan, who was able to stand there and trade with you until you got tired, and then was able to put on the finishing touches with the striking. Everybody else who's beaten Jose Aldo, how did they win? And Max Holloway, of course. But same thing. Jose Aldo was winning the striking exchanges until he got tired, and then Max Holloway was able to pick up steam, put on the pressure, and eventually crack him a few times, and then he slowed down, took him down, and was able to get the TKO finish. So with that said, there's very few people who have beaten him just in a straight-up striking affair, and those guys are Piotr Jan and Max Holloway, some of the best guys to ever grace the sport. With that said, the other guys who beat him were Volkanovski, Merab, and Mario Batista, that I could point out, and then of course Marlon Moraes, who won a split decision, but it was a very weird fight where even though he lost, they gave the title shot opportunity to Jose Aldo coming off of a split decision loss because the UFC thought he should have won. Just really, really weird. A close fight is not a fight where you award someone a title shot because you thought that they should have won. If there's anything more odd than that, I don't know if there's anything more odd than that. You thought he should have won in a close fight. Back and forth fight. You give him a title shot, winner for that. I mean, if you were to give the title shot to either one of those guys, okay, I can understand that. but the guy lost. So why not give it to the guy that actually won? You got to make it make sense. I don't know. I don't make the rules. It's not my company. I just fight. But yeah, Piotr beat him. Marlon Moraes, Alex Volkanovski, Max Holloway, Conor McGregor, obviously. Oh, I forgot about that in a striking affair. I mean, that was a weird one. I mean, it was clean. It was fair. But I think it's fair enough for people to say the fight that Jose Aldo had with Conor McGregor was a very emotionally charged. Fair play to Conor doing what he needed to do to get inside of his head and cause Jose Aldo to fight outside of himself and capitalizing on it. That doesn't happen very often. So with that said, fair play. But I think we could look at that and go, that wasn't the best dialed in, focused Jose Aldo. And if you think it was, then I don't know what to say to you. I really don't. But other than that, that's how you beat Jose Aldo. Everybody else, you're gonna get pieced up, or you gotta take him down or slow him down, or well, not take him down, but put him against the cage and slow him down and make it a boring fight because he's that dangerous. Unless you're Max Holloway, Conor McGregor, or Piotr. Some other good fights: Alexa Grasso taking on Natalia Silva. This is a big fight for Natalia Silva, taking on the former champion and I think probably top 3 contender at the weight class. If she could beat her, I think she inserts herself right into the title shot conversation. That should be a fun one. She is now, since coming to the UFC, she is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights in a row. That's pretty impressive. Alexa Grasso needing to bounce back after losing to Shevchenko in a close fight. So it's a very interesting position for both females. Natalia Silva wins. She advances into that title shot conversation to potentially be the next female in line. But if Grasso wins, she's right there. Obviously, she just won. She just lost to Shevchenko. If Shevchenko wins again, I don't think they're going to do another fight. So the best case scenario for a girl like Alexa Grasso, for her in her situation, she needs to win, and she needs Fiorot to win so that she could put herself back in line for a title shot. Now, obviously, if Natalia Silva wins, it opens up a lot more possibilities. If I'm a matchmaker, this is what I'm looking at. I think it's just common sense. Benoit Saint Denis taking on Kyle Prepolek. Don't know who he is. He's making his UFC debut. He was supposed to be fighting someone else. They pulled out, but here he is. I think he was supposed to fight Moicano. At least that's what they offered. At least that was the whispers. That was supposed to be Moicano. Let me see. No, he fought Moicano. What am I talking about? Joel Alvarez. It was supposed to be Joel Alvarez, but that got canceled. Now he's fighting a debut guy. Interesting fight. I don't know much about this dude, but he seems like he's pretty good and obviously Canadian, so it just makes sense. Mike Malott is back, taking on Charles Radtke. Jessica Andrade taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. I can never say her name right. Iwan Kutalaba. Now, for me, I think this is a pretty solid card. I've been wanting to see this kid, Brad Katona versus Beksat Almakhan. Almakhan had a really good fight with Umar in his UFC debut. Dropped him with a head kick. It was a really good fight. Very good showing for a guy who's supposed to be the next champion, and having a great fight with a guy like Umar, highly touted. And for him to come in and shock a lot of people at 11-1, now 11-2, I thought it was very impressive. We haven't seen him since they fought last year, I believe March. With that said, this fight with Brad Katona, this is, I don't want to call Brad a gatekeeper, but this is kind of a gatekeeper matchup where if he can get past a guy like Brad Katona, who's coming off of a loss. So he got back into the UFC. He beat Cody Gibson. He lost to Garrett Armfield. He beat Jesse Butler. Then lost to Gene Matsumoto. Now, if he loses to this guy, this kind of helps Almakhan jump into that conversation of he is a legitimate bantamweight. And I think he is. So may the best man win. This is a very interesting fight because I think Beksat is a really good fighter. Brad Katona, for me, is just a well-rounded guy. I don't know what he's specifically good in, like any one area. If anything, I just think he's got a really tough attitude, very durable. He's willing to stay in the fight. He's a gamer. He can make the fight ugly. He can fight anywhere. But there's no one area where I'm like, he's the most dangerous here. I think the most important thing for him that he has is his cardio, and I think he's willing to push through the fight the entire way through. But other than that, I think he's got a grinding style. If he can take you down, he can control you, do some damage on top. But against a guy like this, who I don't know if he's really that good of a grappler, because in the fight with Umar, it didn't look like it. So I think for Katona, that's his path to victory. Can he take him down and smash Al-Makan? And can Al-Makan keep it standing and use some of that really crisp striking to piece up a guy like Katona and really insert himself into the conversation in the UFC bantamweight division? I think the guy is really good. I think he's from Kazakhstan. If I'm looking at the flag, if that's the right flag, the baby blue one, I believe it's Kazakhstan. I don't want to make sure I'm not butchering this guy. Yeah, Kazakhstan. But yeah, some really good fights. I know people were talking about all of these fight cards. I saw a post from Brendan Schaub saying something along the lines of like, there's so many empty seats. It was a tweet that someone else posted, and he just kind of just screenshotted it and posted it. I don't know what's going on with that. I will say that the prices for the UFC events are really, really expensive. So I can understand a lot of that. Yeah, this card might not have a lot of superpower name value, but there are some really good fights on this card, in my opinion. I mean, you got Mike Malott, who's a big star in Canada. A lot of people know him. Benoit Saint Denis. You got Alexa Grasso. You got Natalia Silva. That's a really good female fight. And obviously, with the UFC marketing, they tend to push like the more attractive looking females, and I think with this, I would imagine that it brings out some of the people that like that, right? Former champion Natalia Silva, a hot prospect coming up, and then of course Eamon Zahabi, Firas's younger brother, who's doing really, really well. Now fighting Jose Aldo. Like, there's some good name value in this. Shevchenko taking on Fiorot. Title fight, and Belal Muhammad versus Jack Maddalena. I think this is actually a really good card. So I'm surprised to see that the seats aren't as sold out as per the tweet. I don't know. I just saw it and I thought it was something that probably needs to be said. So whether or not you're willing to, I don't know how much the tickets cost, so that could be a big part of it. It's not Conor McGregor, so you're not paying for one of those type of shows, right? So I think there's something to be said about the pricing if this is true. So yeah, my opinion, I think the card is relatively good. Maybe the pricing is pricing themselves out. And like Brendan said, I think there's going to be a correction period where they're going to have to look at some things and go, okay, maybe we need to dial it back how much we're charging for X events, and depending on who's on the card. Because if this is not enough to get people excited to want to shell out the money, then I don't know what it is. I think it's a well-balanced card in my personal opinion. Just looking at it, calling out the names. I mean, how can you not be excited about Jose Aldo, Alexa Grasso, Belal versus JDM? I'm not going to say just Belal because I know a lot of people give him a lot of flack, but between the two of them, I think that's a really exciting fight, especially if you're a fan of the sport and you follow it. If you're a casual, I can understand because you're not watching all the fights in depth like that to know or really care. But with that said, I'm excited for the fights this weekend. I'm still in China, still in Shanghai. We go back. I got a big event at the 8 Cigar Lounge, so you guys can pull up if you're in Vegas or if you're coming into the town. Come hang out. We're going to be watching the fights over there and drinking some Funk Harbor. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to drop it in the comments. And guys, give my guy Jake, the producer, a break. I don't think he's that bad. I really don't. But I see you guys giving him a lot of flack. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's that bad. I think it gives a nice dynamic when you got a guy who's experienced, obviously still in the sport, and yeah, I don't have a fight yet. And then you got a guy who's more casual because he is. He only really watches when we're fighting and things like that, unless it's a big fight. And I think his opinion kind of represents a lot of the casual thoughts. And also, he's more watching tweets and reading tweets and looking on Instagram and kind of checking the temperature on what people think on certain stuff. So a lot of his opinions are kind of a lot of the opinions of the masses. So that's why I don't think it's that bad. So I think people I think you guys are giving him a little bit too hard of a time. But with that said, break his balls. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon back stateside. Excited for the fights. If you're in Vegas, pull up, come hang out, have a drink, smoke a cigar, and stay safe. Like, subscribe, comment. Peace.